What would the Pokemon in a Philippines-inspired region look like? Hey everyone, Brandon here, and in my own region Buhay, there are a variety of Pokemon to answer that question. For instance, we have Dorabao, the cute calf Pokemon, a pure normal type. I worked with Foongoos to create this and the rest of the Pokemon in this video, so make sure to check out their link in the description. This little cutie is our early root mammal for the region, and is inspired by the iconic Carabao. This is a swamp-type water buffalo native to the Philippines and is considered their national animal, symbolizing hard work and resilience. You could say they really care about it. Having a Carabao Pokemon was an absolute must, and I thought what better way to represent it than with the most common Pokemon in the region. Also, we just had the little piggy Lechonk as our early root mammal in Paldea, so having a calf along with it makes sense. Slowly but surely, my barnyard homage is coming to fruition. Dorabao have a thick hide that makes them surprisingly tough despite their small stature. They can thrive in most habitats, which make them a common sight while traveling through Buhay. And you can travel through a world of ancient Greek myth with today's sponsor, Elestrals Awakened. Veteran creators A-Drive and Shady Penguin have teamed up to make the hit TCG Elestrals into a 2.5D monster-catching RPG. Elestrals Awakened will allow you to engage with the universe of Elestrals in a brand new way, connecting directly with the TCG. Bond with one of 8 elemental spirits to uncover the mysteries of the Titan War, challenge the divines like Zeus and Poseidon, conquer the world's first Elestriad, explore ancient temple ruins, and more. Bond with over 100 plus Elestrals, have them ascend or nexus them into new forms to give them access to more power and abilities. Hunt for rare stellar Elestrals, which are not only fun to look at, but have unique abilities and features. Elestrals Awakened is currently running a Kickstarter campaign that ends November 7th. Back this project now to get access to the alpha and beta, receive exclusive in-game unlocks and Kickstarter exclusive TCG promo packs, and even become an NPC in-game. So don't miss out. Go back the Elestrals Awakened Kickstarter now before it's too late. Thank you so much to Elestrals Awakened for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to it. At level 20, Dorabao evolves into Arabao, the Mud Moo Pokemon, a normal water type. But Brandon, I hear you comment, if it's the Mud Moo Pokemon, why is it normal water type? An excellent question, dear commenter. Well, firstly, Carabao are a type of water buffalo. As such, they are in the water fairly often, especially given their diet, which is mostly made up of aquatic plants. And they will even graze underwater in times of flooding. Where the mud aspect comes in is with Arabao's muddied form. It takes this form thanks to its ability, Mudcaked, which activates when Arabao uses a ground-type move, or a ground-type move is used on it. This turns Arabao into the normal ground type and adds all this bulk to it, increasing its defense stat as well. And yes, it does become mud-caked up. Carabao tend to wallow in mud to cool down and to protect their skin from the sun and insects. But the sight of a mud-covered Carabao could also refer to their use as draft animals, pulling sleds or carts for plowing fields or moving cargo. Actually, that's where Arabao's name comes from. Arable means land fit for growing crops, which Arabao itself creates with its ground-type moves. The pattern of Arabao in both its forms is a reference to the many festivals across the Philippines which celebrate the hardworking Carabao, but specifically it refers to the painting of the animal done in the Carbo Festival in the city of Vigan. As a vegetarian, that's a city I want to live in. They paint the Carabao with all kinds of fun and interesting colors to pay tribute to the hard work of the farmers and the animal itself. So you can think of the mud covering Arabao as the paint in this situation. And mud painting is a medium of art, so there's that too. To my Filipino viewers, I hope I did your big bovine justice. And you can do me justice by hitting those like and subscribe buttons so you can keep up with more of this series and the other amazing videos on this channel. Naturally, next we have to talk about the early root bird of the region. And that title is held by Weesiu, the collector Pokemon, a flying normal type. This shy-looking little chick is based on the Philippine duck, or more accurately, a Philippine duckling, which is a fairly common dabbling waterfowl. The twigs and colorful leaves you see amongst its design are where the collector part of its category comes in. Weesiu thinks that it's a bit of an ugly duckling, so it will adorn itself with things that are shiny, colorful, and just generally pretty in an attempt to make itself more appealing. In fact, it can go a bit overboard, becoming a greedy hoarder, even going so far as to steal pretty things from others, bringing them to its stash for later use. Weesiu's name comes from the Tagalog word sisiu, meaning a bird chick, and also we, as in small, not the other thing. It also joins the Palindrome Name Club. At level 18, Weesiu evolves into Batok, the False Colors Pokemon. Rather than collecting shiny things like its previous stage, Batok crushes up various berries to dye its feathers vibrant colors. It will tout its dyed feathers around braggadociously, and will attack those who don't notice or compliment them. It will also taunt other bird Pokemon whose feathers aren't as colorful, which more often than not will lead to Batok reaping what it sows. This gaudy Pokemon is inspired by the Philippine Trogon, itself a very brightly colored bird that is endemic to the Philippines. With this being the middle stage, Batok in its dyed feathers is kinda giving a kid badly experimenting with makeup look. The dyeing of its feathers is inspired by ikat dyeing, a technique found across Southeast Asia. It's a form of resist dyeing, so only certain parts of the fabric are dyed, much like Batok only has certain parts of its body dyed. There is also Tanalak, a form of weaving done by the Taboli people of southern Mindanao, using ikat dyed threads. The cadence of the word is similar to Batok, though it isn't directly part of its name. Speaking of, Batok's name comes from Batak na Batak, which is Tagalog slang that basically translates to a tryhard, also known as someone who's doing too much. The only way for Batok to evolve is to accept itself and its true colors. After hitting level 32 and getting hit by water-type moves 20 times to wash off the dye on its feathers, Batok will evolve into a Darnoble, the true colors Pokemon, a flying rock type. Having this subdued yet still beautiful coloration, this Pokemon truly thrives. It sings with a voice that can turn things around it into stone. This is actually its ability, Rockstar, which changes sound-based moves into the rock type, a la Liquid Voice. A Darnoble itself is inspired by the Philippine peacock pheasant, which males have this gorgeous blue in their plumage, while also mainly having brown, black, and white feathers to really make those blues pop. You can see a Darnoble still has the colors of its first two stages on its talons to acknowledge how it got to be at this stage. This entire line has a bit of a slant on the ugly duckling storyline, but the storyline here is more so based on the idiom insecurity breeds contempt. People who feel insecure in themselves will often take that out on others, but when you can find acceptance within yourself, you become beautiful inside and out. There's a lot more nuance here, obviously, but for the purposes of this Pokemon, that's the story. An insecure duck becomes a gaudy and rude bird covering up its feathers that only evolves when it shows its true colors, becoming a graceful pheasant. While this might feel a little all over the place, it all ties into one central concept that has to do with Adarnoble's name. Both the Adarna and Noble parts are inspired by the Filipino tale of the Ibang Adarna. 3 princes are tasked with finding the Ibang Adarna, a mythical bird whose song can cure diseases, after their father falls ill. The first prince, Don Pedro, is sent, who is greedy and wants the crown for himself. He finds the bird, but it sings him to sleep and then turns him into stone by pooping on him. Brandon, you're 32 and you have a child. Grow up. Anyway, Don Diego, the second prince, is sent next, who tries to brute force his way into capturing the bird, ignoring his brother's mistakes, causing him to suffer the same fate. The final prince, Don Juan, is patient and kind. He heeds warnings about the bird's enchantments from a local hermit, and is able to successfully capture the bird, freeing his brothers from their stony fate and eventually becoming king himself. And you could become like royalty on this channel if you hit that join button to become a member. Membership gets you perks like videos early and a shout out at the end of my videos, all the while helping me pay the incredible artists I work with. In an era where AI art is taking over, I pride myself on continuing to pay artists for their fantastic work. So any contributions you can make to this channel are greatly appreciated. So each stage of this early root bird line represents the princes in order. We see you as Don Pedro, with it being greedy and hoarding pretty things. Batok is Don Diego, who tries to brute force its way to beauty by dyeing its feathers. Then obviously that means a Darnoble is Don Juan, accepting the mistakes of its past to become the final stage of the line. Patience and understanding, the qualities that led this prince to victory. On top of all that, the Philippine Trogon is actually nicknamed Ibang Adarna, due to its vibrant plumage. And the poet that Ibang Adarna is attributed to went by the pseudonym who sang CCU. This entire line is very layered conceptually and I quite like it. Now we have the early root mammal and the early root bird, so naturally next we need to talk about the early root bug. So here is Sumpupa, the pupa Pokemon, a pure bug type. This little grub-like buddy can be found buried in the ground around Buhay. The only sign of them are these little hairs atop its head poking out of the earth. They will hide in plain sight at farms, eating the crops while hiding amongst them. Ginger roots seem to be their favorite meal, as it's the easiest for them to hide near. Sumpupa is inspired by the larva of the coffee white stem borer. This kind of beetle can be found all over Southeast Asia and is a blight to coffee plants everywhere, as the larvae bury themselves in the stems of the plants, as their name implies, making them incredibly difficult to control. Sumpupa gets its name from sumpa, a Filipino word that means curse, as the stem borer is a curse to any plant it digs into. But that becomes a bit more literal at level 13, when Sumpupa evolves into Mambor, the curse Pokemon, a bug ghost type. Mambor are more than just a pest to farmers. They will curse whatever plants they eat from, which infects the area around it, becoming a straight-up blight upon the land. Obviously, Mambor is still inspired by the stem borer, but its name and design are inspired by the Mambabarang, a type of sorcerer from Filipino myth which uses insects in their magic. Well, they aren't actually insects, but instead are little malevolent spirits that take the form of beetles, centipedes, spiders, or cockroaches. The Mambabarang are said to feed these spirits ginger root, hence why Sumpupa looks like one. So this next part is a little gross, so just be wary going forward. The Mambabarang will send their bugs after the recipient of the curse, in which the insects will crawl inside the target through whatever is the easiest orifice, just like the stem borer larva does with plants. The curse will then try to break free from inside the target, resulting in boils and other diseases to form on the skin. It's said that the sorcerer will tie a little white thread around the ankles of these spirits. If the thread comes back red in color, then the mission was a success, but if it comes back black, that means failure. This is why white, red, and a bit of black are featured in its coloration, and why its beard ties around its ankles. Speaking of, this beard is a reference to evil sorcerers such as Saruman from Lord of the Rings. An important thing to note is that while the Mambabarang certainly uses malevolent magic, back in the day that magic was most often pointed at Spanish oppressors. So, based, I guess? But let's keep things in the realm of the arcane with this next Pokemon, Tarsier, the clairvoyant Pokemon, a pure psychic type. This primate of premonition is inspired by the Philippine Tarsier, a very iconic animal to the Philippines and Southeast Asia. They are known for their large, dazzling eyes in spite of their smaller frame. This animal was begging to be made into a cute little Pokemon, and I am so happy to deliver. When seeing this animal for the first time, I just had to know, what do you see with your special eyes?
My brand!
But the first thought that came to my mind, of course, was the future. So we made Tarsier's eyeballs into enormous crystal balls. The coloration of said crystal comes from that of alum, a hydrated double sulfate salt form of aluminum. Alum is used in the Philippine divination practice of pagtatawas, where alum is placed in heated water, and the shapes created as a result of that are used to determine if a person has some form of affliction or psychological disorder. This is known as a form of eryctomancy and is done by an albulario, or a local folk healer. With this, they can supposedly detect the presence of dwarves, demons, or other spirits also known as anito, that may be causing the affliction. Honestly, the name Tarsier just came to me, and I built the entire concept around that. Before we get to the last mon of the video, I wanted to take a moment to mention there are a few Pokemon from my India-based region, Devar, that could certainly fit in this region, such as Sivalt and Bentadari, which are based on the Asian palm civet and Binturong respectively, as well as the special kind of coffee they produce. The Pangos line could fit here as well, given there's such thing as the Philippine pangolin. Herat and Stalagpine also fit well in this region, given the abundance of rodents and the existence of the Philippine porcupine. Last but not least, we have the Pikaclone of Buhay, so allow me to introduce Shokumi, the Growth Guard Pokemon, an electric grass type. This adorable little nugget has a surprisingly complex set of inspirations. Firstly, it is both meant to look like a grain of rice, while also looking like mochi and the mochi treat version of the Yuki Usagi, which are commonly sold in Japan. The Yuki Usagi itself is said to pound rice into a sweet treat with its powerful hind legs, hence the association with mochi. So very Japanese for a Philippines region so far, but that's where the rice part comes in. There is a totem used by the Ifugao people of northern Luzon, known as the bulul. This carved wooden figure is stored alongside rice in a home or in granaries to protect the rice and bring about a plentiful harvest. They are also associated with healing, and wouldn't you know it, in China, the Yuki Usagi, instead of pounding rice into a sweet treat, pounds it into medicine, a tool for healing. The animal this Pokemon is inspired by is both a rabbit, but also the common house mouse, which can be found in homes all over the world. And where do rodents mainly hang out? Wherever there's food, just like the bulul. So put that all together in a cute little package and you have Shokumi. Its name comes from Sho, the kanji for protection, Shoku, the Garaiga word for shock, and Nezumi, the Japanese word for mouse or rat. But when put all together, it sounds like Shock Me. Some final things to note are the Pokemon Company actually made an official Yuki Usagi Pikachu plush, and Pikachu was originally designed after Daifuku, another type of rice dish. So this entire concept just comes together so nicely. And those are some Pokemon of the Buhay region. Thank you so much to our incredible members who go that extra mile to support this channel so I can continue to make videos just like this, which you can also do by hitting that join button. Thanks so very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.